Up, everyone. Welcome to Shaping Success with myself and Robert Watson. We missed Monday. My wife decided she had to go to work early, so just decided that I probably better not do it because if my son wakes up and I'm out here recording, he's going to be freaking out and not knowing what to do. So we didn't
It
record.
happens. Yep. Well, happy Monday on Wednesday.
Yeah, happy Monday on Wednesday. Oh my gosh, it's halfway over already, the week.
Absolutely.
Well, we were going to talk on Monday because we had a couple of people talk about the crash in Washington where the Black Hawk hit another airplane. And I have some pictures here, and I just kind of want to know, Robert sent over to me. And since Robert was a pilot, you know, he kind of might have an idea of what happened as well, because there's a lot of interesting theories out there, but let's kind of hear what Robert thinks.
Yeah, well, let's start with the notion that air traffic controllers are simply wonderful, committed professionals, okay? And they are really, really talented. The pilots are very, very talented. You know, it's a very select group of people that function in these roles. We're still human, we still make mistakes.
Right.
And consequently, we're in the position of talking about two pilots, right? Two different aircraft and an air traffic controller. So we're saying that there's some kind of mismatch. Let me start with pilot, PIC, pilot in command. That's the person that's responsible. Just so everybody understands this and knows that an air traffic controller really isn't in control. We are. As pilots, we are pilot in command. That is not pilot, subjugating our command to someplace else. We are pilot, just very much like a captain on a ship. It's the same legal standard. So we're in charge. So you basically have a jet on final. Okay, so ATC has approved him. He's on final to land, runway, whatever. Now you notice in the picture that there are three runways. There's one long, you can see it in the middle, one long and two at an angle.
Uh-huh.
Looks like about, kind of like a 45 or a 30 from
Yep.
the field. And so if you look to your far left, you'll see that that was the runway they were approved to land on. I think the other picture actually shows it, if you can pop that one up. Yeah, you see which one, and you can now see the long one, and you can see what they were approved. So they're on final. So they were approved for landing on whatever that runway is. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell because I just looked down at the photo. So they were approved, and so the helicopter was asking to pass behind it, and was asking for visual separation.
Uh-huh.
And basically, they said, "Listen, I'll go behind." That is very normal. Okay, so if I'm in a pattern, doesn't matter what airport, it's a controlled field. What will happen is they say, "Hey." In this case, my call sign was Cirrus 414 Tango X-ray. They say, Cirrus 414 Tango X-ray, can you see the 727 on final for runway 19? Yes, roger that. Have 727 in sight. Maintain visual separation with 727. My callback is 414 Tango X-ray will maintain visual separation with 727. Final for runway 19, right? Basically, I'm repeating back the instructions, right? And basically saying, I acknowledge what it is. I am now responsible for maintaining a visual separation. The ATC is not responsible for my visual separation. I am.
Right.
Okay, so I'm in charge. The person who's in front of me getting ready to land, he's looking at this going, well, I'm not in this equation. I'm cleared to land. I'm going to go land. Contrary, the only thing he would do at that point is if somebody took his runway, in other words, came from the ground, took his runway and caused him to go around.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, it's his runway. Now, the ATC has approved him for landing. It's supposed to be his runway. But again, he's pilot in command. If there's
Right.
something on his runway, he says, hey, 727 going around. Can't land, you have a problem.
Right.
Okay. Again, I'm in charge. So in this case, the jet landing is facing a helicopter that's coming perpendicular. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's looking at it going, there's nothing I can do. Right? I'm going to land my plane. I'm cleared the runway. Fine, I'm done. So they're done. ATC has a helicopter who is more maneuverable than a plane,
Right.
has asked for visual separation. Fairly simple. ATC says maintain visual separation. Well, helicopter did not maintain visual separation. That's it.
Yeah.
Nutshell.
So
Okay.
basically, the
Now,
plane's coming in and the helicopter's going up, and they just
well,
collided.
it was actually coming straight, and if you look at that one picture, it actually hit it on a perpendicular, so it took it out to the side, and it was a straight side shot. It's
Oh,
real
okay.
clear.
Oh, these
Yeah,
okay. So these two lines, the white line represents the helicopter, and the yellow line
yeah.
represents the airplane.
And you see the threshold, which is yellow, which is matching the runway that he is cleared to land on.
Yeah.
And so he's ready to land. He's like, okay, I'm cleared to land. The guy who's supposed to maintain visual separation is more maneuverable. I mean,
Right.
midair, but a helicopter can really maneuver. So
Right.
all they were supposed to do was go behind.
Hmm.
That's it.
But
Okay,
instead,
they
they
didn't
just
go behind.
clipped it.
Yeah. Well, in this case, my understanding was it was a straight hit.
Straight hit. Oh man, how
Straight
could
hit.
you? That is insane to me. Like how you could not see that. And a couple of my friends were talking about it. Like it was nighttime and they were night vision goggles and they would have a hard time seeing it. But I don't buy that because I mean you have to be looking straight at this airplane.
Night vision
That is
goggles.
a
What are you talking about?
monster.
We're in a lit area. We don't have night vision goggles. We're not flying that kind of
No, in the helicopter.
situation. No, I still don't know why they'd
Still,
be using
yeah.
night vision.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know. I mean,
night.
that's interesting. There's a lot of theories behind it, but I don't know. I mean, it's
Well,
crazy that it happened.
Well, she supposedly the pilot, the Black Hawk pilot, was supposedly on a training mission.
Uh-huh.
She had a senior CW2, I believe it was, who was in the right seat, and she was in a training op. Okay, fine. She's a seasoned Black Hawk pilot. I'm assuming we'll find out later how many hours she had. She knows what visual separation is.
Yeah.
Okay, remember what she can see.
Mhm.
She's looking up to the side and she can see the plane coming in.
Right.
This is kind of like running into a wall.
Yeah.
And so that if people want to say that there's something odd or nefarious about it, yeah, go ahead. But the point was, she obviously didn't understand what was going on at the situation or was somehow impaired. But as far as nighttime, we do nighttime all the time. We're not wearing night vision goggles.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's pretty well lit. And plus, we know the spatial separation. And as you notice, what you don't know is right below that flight path of the helicopter is a joint base. That's actually a joint military base right underneath that flight path for the helicopter.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things going on. This is normal airspace. And this
Yeah.
is Bravo airspace. It's controlled airspace. Nobody's supposed to be up in it that doesn't have reasonable experience. And she had reasonable experience. So what actually took place? Could it be pilot error? Well, here's the point. Ultimately, PIC means pilot command. Ultimately, who's responsible for the crash? Her.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not picking on her as a pilot. I'm just saying who's responsible? Her.
Yeah.
The rules for flying are real simple. The
Yeah.
more maneuverable aircraft always gives way. So in
if
other
it was
words,
a
if I'm
smaller
flying,
plane, it would be giving way because the bigger plane is harder to turn, basically.
well, that, for example, if you had a blimp
Uh-huh.
and it's me in a plane and there's a blimp, I'm more maneuverable than the blimp. I
Right.
have to give way.
Yep.
Okay. A helicopter and a plane on final, you have to give way.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, they're on final. Now, here's where everybody gets a little crossways. There are two set of frequencies. There's the public frequencies, the ones we talk to ATC, and then there's military frequencies. It's likely that she was on a military frequency. Okay. So she wasn't necessarily listening to the traffic. I don't know this, but if she was smart, she was on listening to ATC traffic and the military channel at the same time. If she was smart,
Yeah.
I don't know if she was thinking that way. I don't know how their training exercise goes. I just know that if somebody was giving instructions in an airspace, I want to hear it.
Yeah, and I mean it's crazy to me just based on even you calling out what you're supposed to call out. It's like that's a lot of information. So you have to say that. They have to have heard that. They have to know that if they were listening. Like it's not like unless they were just completely oblivious to it and like trying to train whoever they were training to on something, looking down, not listening, not paying attention. Like it seems like that has to be or something was wrong, right? There has to be someone had a heart
Yeah,
attack, someone was hurt, something was,
all of that's possible. But here's the thing: you know where you're flying. You know
mhm,
there's a field there. You know there's. You even know where the instrument flight paths are. So in other words, you know where planes are supposed to be,
right,
right? And so theoretically, when you get final, you're supposed to own final to a runway. You own that airspace.
yeah,
Nobody else is supposed to be in it.
right,
So when you ask for visual separation, right, this is you basically asking ATC for a courtesy so that you can go on with your day,
right,
right? Which is she lands, you pass behind, no problem.
right,
That was not a pass behind. That was a right into them.
yeah.
And you are maneuverable. I mean, I know you can't stop a helicopter, but you damn sure almost can.
I,
I've flown helicopters. Trust me when I say this. It's a weird as hell when you can stop in the air.
I know you did shows too, like in the movies. Like I understand completely that, like if you think about it, and maybe it's fake, like in a movie, but I doubt it. They're not going to do some fake maneuver with a helicopter unless it was like CGI or something. But they can literally turn that thing around on a dime, right? Like it can just not a dime, but it can flip around pretty quickly compared to an
Yeah,
airplane that's going to be so slow.
oh my God, yes. I mean, it was absolutely freaky the first time I flew. I probably had about 300 or 400 hours in a plane, and then it's the first time I flew a helicopter. It was actually to pick up a girl on a date.
Hmm.
I decided that I was going to be funny and do one of those jokes and show up on my first flight and said, "Well, how long have you been flying helicopters?" As well, this is my first time, and it really was my first time. But when I got in it, and he said, "Well, how you land is you come to a stop and then you go down."
Right.
And you're not really used to that, and you still fly kind of a same kind of a flight path that a plane does, but you set it down.
Yeah, you
Now,
have to. I mean,
granted, you can't, yeah, but you can't go from 160 miles an hour, for example, to a dead stop. That's not
yeah,
going to happen.
yeah,
But
and I
still,
mean,
you're a whole lot more maneuverable.
right, and that's
In
straight
other
down.
words,
I mean, they set
yeah,
these medical helicopters down on top of freaking skyscrapers. So I mean, it's
oh
or
yeah,
on
oh
top of
yeah.
hospital buildings and things like that all the time. So I mean, it's yeah. You would think that there would be a way just for them to just drop down real quick or raise up, whatever it would have been. But they obviously weren't paying attention or something was wrong. I mean, that had to be a big.
Barring some kind of catastrophic failure, you're basically it's pilot error.
Yeah.
Black Hawk pilot error. Period. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just the way it goes down. We are
Right.
responsible for our planes. She was responsible for the aircraft. If she had a heart attack, she had a heart attack. It doesn't matter. We're still responsible for the aircraft.
Yeah.
And the NTSB will be investigating. DOD will get involved. I'm not sure whether she's on in a reserve helicopter, whether she was on a National Guard helicopter. I don't know what she was on, but DOD will get involved. NTSB are some fine folks. I've been involved with them a couple of times. I had a friend splatter his plane all over, So, but they are once again the ATC people are pilots. NTSB exceptional people,
Right.
very professional. They will get to the bottom of this.
Well, and there's a lot of talk about with a lot of stuff with this whole situation that, the DEI stuff played into it. And I just kind of want to have a little clarification on in order for that person to be able to be in that plane, they had to have some experience, right? Like, what does it take in order to, number one, fly a commercial jetliner, and number two, fly one of those helicopters? I mean, they had to have hours upon hours of training. So it's kind of tough to think that think that it could be like lack of training on that part, right?
Yeah, so everybody does the same thing. I had a friend ask me, he said, "Listen, I want to learn to fly a plane, but I don't want to do all that really weird shit that you have to do for a fighter pilot and everything." And I kind of chuckled and I said, everybody's basic flight is the same. Everybody's instrument flight is basically the same. Okay, we all learn the same things, and you get sign-offs based upon the performance of your equipment, whether it's dual engine or whether multi-engine
Right.
or whether it's turbine. We all get sign-offs. So you have to go through basic flight, instrument flight, right? In this case, she went through basic flight, instrument flight, and then went to helicopters, what we call rotary. And
Right.
so she had time, all of those. So it's not like, somehow and God, unless the rules really changed,
Hmm.
that she kind of skipped all that.
Right.
Okay, she had at least two, if not three, flight instructors along the way. So I don't think she was promoted because she was a woman. Or again,
Yeah.
I don't know specifics, but listen, these are some quality people.
Hmm.
Your flight instructors are quality people.
Yeah.
Again, I understand the argument, but I just don't think it's valid. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, and I mean, it basically just sounds like, at this point, based on what you're saying, it was not the plane pilot's problem because they are the ones who had the right of way and they just weren't able to. They couldn't stop, but the helicopter could, and it didn't get out of the way.
My daughter made a comment about it. She said, talking to her husband, she said, "You don't know how close we've mishapped." No, this is in ATC space. We were so close we could tell the color of a guy's eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and he was not where he was supposed to be. But
Yeah.
what happened was, is ATC alerted me, and he was on a perpendicular too, and he was basically going to run into the side of me
Oh man.
on the same kind of thing. And he's in a plane, and so ATC lets me know and says, "Hey, you got, not at 3 o'clock, you have a problem." And basically, it was a real quick call. And I looked down, I pulled my nose up, and he went right underneath me.
Oh my gosh.
And when I say he looked up at me, my daughter and I both looked at him, and we knew the color of his eyes. He was that
Yeah.
close,
Well, I'm sure
and he
that
was not supposed to be there.
yeah, in that situation, that's one of those your life flashes before your eyes, so like you're very hyper sensitive to what's going on.
Right, and again, I'm very well trained. I
Yeah.
had exceptional flight instructor. Again, this is not necessarily I'm so special. It's not. I had fantastic training, but my training was so good that basically, when he says you have a problem, and he didn't say it that way, he said it a different way. But at that point, I pulled my nose up, and the guy slid underneath me. Happy day. What are you going to do? The guy
Right.
was VFR, visual flight record, VFR in controlled space. Wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But again, mistakes get made. What are we supposed to do? Remember, there's two people that can fix the mistake,
Hmm.
right? The jet coming in could have fixed the mistake, but the jet coming in is thinking to himself, "I'm cleared final."
Right.
So he or she, I don't know, was basically going to put it down. I will say that one of my friends who works for one of the three-letter agencies did ask the question, "Who was on the jet?" That was the first question out of his mouth, was who's on the jet. In other words, was there something we need to know about who was on the jet? I said, I don't think so, dude.
Yeah,
I
like
think
who
this is
was
just
yeah, they
yeah,
haven't released who it is yet. Um
yeah. I
like the
think this is pilot error, but again, I could be wrong.
well, and it was crazy because directly after that happened and we have this explosion what was it, a plane landed in the hospital in Pennsylvania? I think it was Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Philadelphia, I believe.
Yeah. And it just kind of makes you then that's what gets people's juices flowing. They're like, oh, what could have happened here? Now is that related to this and that and blah blah blah, and the damage from that thing was bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. We're get this. We are literally flying a gas can.
Oh yeah, I mean, and
Okay.
that's
I
and
mean,
it's like
come on, get real.
super high octane, so I'm assuming it's much more flammable than the stuff that's on the ground that we put in our cars. You know?
Yeah, we pretty much, when you crash, if you're fuel at night, you're turned into kind of a crispy critter.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I'm not trying to be anything other than be real about that's a lot of gas. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
just saying. Yeah.
Well, and I think that there's a lot, like, I mean, people are scared to fly or whatever there it is. Like they're talking about, well, now I'm scared to fly. But the reality is even though that happened, when was the last time you heard of a plane crash? When was the last time that we knew of one? I mean, obviously they happen, but we don't hear
Right.
about the little ones. We always hear about the big ones because there's multiple fatalities on it, and it's just a tough thing to handle. But
Yeah, Nikki points it well. Things tend to happen in clusters. They happen in threes. She's
right,
right. They just do. For whatever reason. And please understand, if you want to have some fun, get into the software called FlightAware. You go on FlightAware, it will show you every plane that's in the air in the United States at this moment. It
Yeah.
will literally show you a little visual representation. It is a lot of planes.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of traffic. This is like asking how many car crashes you have on the freeway,
Right.
right? They're just, your chances of having a problem in the air are so small. These are such quality people. I had a flight surgeon that was so funny. He said that I'm afraid of flying. I said, you're actually not afraid of flying. And he said, well, no one's told me that. I said, you're not. You're afraid of not flying.
Yeah. Right.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Flying doesn't bother you. It's the not flying part that really bothers you.
Yeah. It's when the not flying happens.
When not flying happens, it becomes a problem.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting situation, and I'm interested to see how this unwinds. There's a lot of things going on right now that, I mean, there's a lot of change happening in the last 3 weeks. There's been a lot of things going on, so it's interesting to see how this stuff is just flying off the wall with everything.
So flying is just an accidental use of words now on your part?
Are you talking to me? You're talking to Nikki. You're what you're saying.
Flying off the wall.
Yeah.
He's flying off the wall and she's afraid of falling.
Yeah. She was asking how the helicopter date went as well. Was she impressed?
Yeah. So she was really impressed until she found out it was the first time I was flying a helicopter. And then she was like, oh my God. I said, that's okay. I mean, I'll be okay.
Yep.
But yeah, she was impressed. So it was our first date too. I basically said, I was going to go pick you up, but why don't you just go over to this airport? I won't say where, but go to this airport and I'll be there in a few minutes. She's like, huh? And they came in and said, come on, get in. So it was a fantastic opening date, right?
Yeah. The question was it the first and the last date? Because if it was last date, you knew you did the wrong thing.
No. It was a great first date. We ended up dating for the next couple of years. So It was a good first date.
There you go. Made a big impression on the first date, and it all went down from there.
Yeah, it went all downhill from there. Yeah. Exactly.
You raised the bar on dating. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking about that. And, it's different to hear from the perspective of someone who's actually been through it, knowing, how, because there's a lot of things like the air traffic controller wasn't prepared, the pilot had a problem, the helicopter pilot, the plane pilot, blah, blah, blah. There's all these stories swarming around, but based on the video, on the picture of what happened, I mean, there could only be one outcome, and how it goes with flying, the airplane pilot was doing the right thing. The helicopter pilot didn't yield.
Right. And again, the helicopter pilot asked for visual separation, according to what I had heard, or the transcripts. I haven't heard it. What's so interesting about the NTSB is again, in the crash where my friend was involved, I said, well, the NTSB said, what do you think happened? And I told him what I thought happened. And he said, would you like to listen to the tower log? And I said, yeah, I would. Mm-hmm. And so I actually got to listen to what was going on, and I saw my friend's mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was flying a VFR flight plan. ATC actually gave him, could not, because he was visual flight record, couldn't give him instructions on what to do, but it did give him weather, and he made a mistake. And then he tried to turn around, and he got caught right in the front end of a storm, and it ripped his plane apart.
Yeah.
Literally ripped it apart.
It's crazy.
But again, the NTSB was, like, I'll tell you, they have everything. They look at all the pieces, the whole 9 yards. They do a wonderful job of investigation. Like I said, they talk to people like me who have flown with people before, and they said, well, could he made a mistake? Well, everybody can make a mistake.
Right.
I didn't realize how big of a mistake he made till I listened to the logs.
Yep. And you never know what's going on in that whole situation until you actually know. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to hear how this unfolds, and appreciate you talking about it.
Not a problem.
All right, everyone. Well, we will be back Monday. If you have a chance, please go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. If you want to support the show, subscribe on TikTok if you're watching there. Subscribe on YouTube. Leave some comments. If you have any show ideas, wes@westankersley.com. You can shoot me an email. This was derived from Nikki talking about, and a couple of my other friends talking about wanting to know what was going on with the airplane, and we just wanted to discuss it. So We appreciate you all being here. And until next time, we challenge you to find the shape of your